How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to Jimmy Making It Work. 62 project truck video. It's been a while since I played with the old girl, and ooh, that didn't sound right. We're gonna do a door latch upgrade today. I got some stuff from Tucker's. It's not made by them; they're a retailer. But this product that I got, it's actually called an Altman Easy Latch Kit. 60 to 63 takes its own kit. 64 to 66 is another one. They have them for all kinds. It's a really great upgrade for something that uses this archaic setup. This little finger gets hit and the finger turns, and that's all that holds the door closed on this little piece right here. I had to come open on my wife. Basically, it might not have been latched all the way. We weren't sure, but we went around a left turn and the door opened. But luckily I got these seat belts on, so she was safe. But it's still nerve-wracking when that happens. We've got a problem here, and we're gonna fix it here. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pull the door armrest off and the handles. Just 2 Phillips screws in here. Normally there's Phillips in here, but there's Allen bolts in here. That's what came on the truck. I just reused them. And a bunch of Phillips around the perimeter. Then we'll be in there to the heart of the problem. Phillips hold this latch in. I don't want to have to go inside and print another one of these out if I damage it when I'm making my marks. So I drew it on the cardboard box so I can cut out a piece of cardboard if I need to. And basically, once this is cut out, you put this circle in the hole right here, and then you know where to make your cuts. You do have to have a Sawzall of some kind, or I have a little air saw that's really good at cutting sheet metal and makes nice long straight lines, or you can make slightly curved lines with it. We'll show you all that. Let's get this off of here and get started. Put this in here to reduce rattling. My next concern now is taking this door latch release off and taking the door latch itself out. I have the special bits for these. They call them clutch bolts, I believe, or clutch head bolts. I bought some inexpensive ones, the old Amazon specials, but it's something you use so rare. If I did tons of these old vehicles, then I would buy a better version of it, but hopefully it doesn't snap, is basically what I'm trying to say. You do want to make sure any sand or rust or anything is out of there, because it will definitely impede your progress. Again, I'll break them loose by hand, and then I'll use my power tools. Uh-oh. I want to avoid emergencies when possible. Little quarter drive, my little bit driver. This does have an adjustment. Take note of that, although when I change this latch, it might not matter. I'll have to adjust it either way. Should keep it from going anywhere, I guess. Now this is kind of a rat rod truck. It's not a full-on show truck. The guys who are familiar with this truck know that. So if you see me not being too cautious with the paint, I got more spray paint. Don't worry about it. It'll be okay. If your truck's a little nicer, then honestly I would be masking, putting some blue painter's tape around the painted edges and being a little more careful. Just keep that in mind while I'm working. I got my big impact tool to get these big Phillips screws out. See how tight they are? That wasn't that tight. Huh. Might have to get a hammer. I was wondering if they were going to come loose by hand or not. That one's already got some damage going on. Nope. Here it goes. Saved a trip. This might be, I think this is trapped under the window bracket, so we might have to mess with that a little bit. If you watch my project truck videos, I built these doors, the bottom of the door on the inside and the outside I replaced, as well as some of the metal around the glass, but I also put new window felts and everything in there, so that stuff should release. I believe there's 2 bolts here, and I think that they will help me move that track out of the way to get the latch from behind it. That's a 7/16. The one at the bottom is a 3/8. That's what's going on the door there I'm messing with. This kind of traps the latch behind it. So it's definitely got to come out of there. Not optional. I tried sneaking it, didn't work. And it's out. All this does is, this is where the doorknob, the door handle outside pushes on this to release it. When this is catched, that's all you're doing. That's why you don't have to mess with the door handle on these trucks. So there's some bending involved in things, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Right now we get our template on here. We make some cuts. I can really quickly, this is how this goes. I can really quickly pop this off of here. It has to be turned 90 degrees. Fits out of the slot, allegedly. Doesn't fit very well, but it fits. There's also a little spring washer behind it. There it is. This little spring washer thing. I'm gonna keep these old latches, put them in a box somewhere, and if anything ever happens with this truck, someone might want them, who knows. No point in throwing out something that came from the 60s. I came from the 60s, just saying. Now, the instructions show a 64 to 66, which is kind of odd. It says something about using the bolts. It doesn't quite cover the bolts, and the notch wouldn't make any sense up that high. I think it goes here. And I think this top bolt stays open. That's where the window track goes. It should go like that, I believe. And one way to check, this curve matches the door quite well. Where the latch is, I'll show you over here. This goes on the door like this, and the curve matches the shape of the door pretty well, right around there. So if I turn it sideways, I can see that the latch portion is basically centered. That top hole is not going to do anything. So the instructions say to use the hole in the door, in the bolt holes, find a template, line it up using the hole in the door where the stock latch used to be, secure the template in place. Okay, cut the template out, place it on your door, lining it up using the hole in the door where the stock latch used to be. Secure the template in place using tape. They do definitely want you to line this up with the hole in the door right there. So that's what I got to do next. Tape that up, measure 4 times, cut once. That's my theory. The good news is too, this isn't as critical as it might seem because that big plate covers it all, but I still want to be precise and do a good job. This is going to go like this. This is going to go like that. I'm not going to cut this with the template in place, but I'm going to get it marked pretty good, and I'll finalize where the tape marks are afterwards. I got a Sharpie right here. Connect these lines for reference with my cutting tools. Save this template for the other door. If you're not good at making straight lines, just put a piece of tape on it. Follow the tape line. But now it's time to get out the cutting tool. That's the fun part. Let's drill holes in the corners. Make it a little easier. This is the cutting tool I use, an Astro. Super good little tool. Usually buzzes right through it. I'm just not going to brag about it ahead of time though. This is the same bit I've had now for, I guess I bought this 2 years ago. $17 for 2 different sizes. Harbor Freight, works great. Always like to blow the smoke out of the barrel. Now, a little bit of air tool oil. A few drops. Put safety glasses on. If you don't wear, I wear polycarbonate shatterproof lenses, but put safety glasses on. These blades can break and bits can get in your face and stuff. have to cut the weather stripping stuff too much. There it is. Doesn't get too hot using that tool. Let me clean this up a little bit. Got just the tool for that. I am gonna get my face shield for this though. You always got to wear your safety gear. Something like that air saw, it's not high-speed rotary. Now I'm using these big cut-off wheels and these spinning thingamajigs. That's when stuff really comes flying at you quick. You're not going to blink your eyes and turn your face fast enough. Basically what I'm saying is wear your gear. It's much better to wear it and be inconvenienced by it a little bit than it is to wish you had it on and you didn't lose an eye or something. Just taking off all the really crazy sharp edges and stuff. Even though I'm wearing this face gear, when that blade's spinning, one way it's spinning towards me and the other way it's spinning away from me. So when I'm going in here, if I use this side, it's going to come towards me, right? But if I do this, it's going away from me. So I'm always paying attention to that, and you should too. Even wearing face gear, who knows what can happen. So I try to be as cautious as I can. It's just no point in having all that regret for a long time afterwards, right? Let's see if that thing fits now. This is the, I'm not going to put it in permanently, but that linkage has to attach to this. This lever is way longer than that, so I'm going to put this in first. I am going to put a little primer in here too. It does say in the instructions that you may have to use a hammer. Show it some love. And I want to get this centered about as good as I can. Show you what that looks like. All around this outer edge here. I want that 1/4 inch or so, that is. Pretty centered. Everything's nice in my openings. I got good clearance. There's a bolt, that hole there for the door panel. That's a long rectangle on purpose, so you can make little adjustments like this. So we should be good. I'm going to get my Sharpie, make some holes for drilling. I think you can use that bolt to hold it temporarily, they tell you in the instructions, but I think we're pretty good right here. I believe they give you flathead screws or something for those too. I'm not sure. I have to look that up. Look in the instructions real quick. What I can do is throw a little bit of paint on here, primer sealer preferably. Something that's not going to be water soluble. Regular primer absorbs water, moisture, so you want some kind of paint, any kind of Rust-Oleum. I might even use some of the red I have laying around for that. And then we'll get this thing fit up. I don't want to overspray on that, even though you can't see it. No one's going to know but me. Well, me and you. I can still see my Sharpie marks. Make sure we got it good. A lot of these panels from the factory weren't painted in 1963 or 60. This was 62. When this was built in 1961, a lot of this stuff was bare metal and it lasted this long, but still makes you feel better to throw a little paint on that. 2 steps. 3, 4, 5. It says 7. It doesn't mention this extra hole that's in that plate. Bend the last 2 inches of the strap upwards slightly, which about there. It's right where it bends already. It bends in and out this way, so we can bend it that way. Basically, because the arm comes down, you don't want it to have to bind every. I guess they want a little hook in it. They know what they're doing. I don't. Let's figure it out. I put a little primer and paint on the latch so it blends with the rest of the door. They made it sound like it's no big deal to bend it, so we'll bend it. I'm going to straighten this out here. This is bent a little first. Now, I'm going to bend it a long ways. It says to bend it upwards slightly. Looks pretty slight to me. We'll see if that's enough. We might have to tweak on her a little bit more. All right, that's pretty decent. I'm gonna have to obviously paint it some more, but I got the bulk of it done. Get some bolts in here. This uses a button head, flat washer on the inside, and a 1/4 nut. Then I gotta attach my linkage. That uses a special lock nut, and you don't want to tighten it too much. You want to have some play in it. It does say in the instructions that you might have to do a little love tapping with a hammer, so we may have to do that. I did drill a hole slightly oversized, so I have some wiggle room. I just go one step over using that little step bit. Super handy, works great. Go around and get these all in. I'm going to give this some taps with a hammer, get everything just a little flatter. When I tighten the bolts, it'll probably take care of that for us, but we'll see. That's why I didn't make the paint perfect just yet. I think we're pretty good right there. Snug the rest of these up pretty good. I don't see any purpose in putting this extra bolt in here because the interior panel is also going to hold it on along with these two. And I'm also wondering how well the interior panel fits over these bolts. But I don't have my rubber. There's a 1/4 inch rubber, like a caulk that goes around the edges, and that spaces the panel out a slight bit. Maybe that's why it shouldn't be a big deal. Come around from the underneath. Oh, I'll get that out. I'm not gonna make you watch that part. There's no openings in the bottom of this door like on a modern car. You can reach right to the bottom. Not on these. Alright, now I can take my bent arm and attach it to that stud. I've got my glass track back in, 2 bolts. The glass track had fallen off and was laying in the bottom of the door. I didn't want to bore you with the 20 minutes getting that out of there, because what happens when you drop your magnet in the door too, then you have to get your grabber tool. If you haven't seen one of these, in case it happens to you, I have these in my Amazon store too. The fingers extend when you squeeze the end, and this is for light, but the battery's dead in it. I'll put a battery in it if I really need the light on the tip of that, but I don't normally need it because I have so many flashlights around, my little stream light. Everything down the door down there is pretty happy now. I've retrieved all my hardware and everything. Put a little spritz on the edges and stuff, so let's get the latch on there. It's gonna go like this. Don't want to drop it, trying to be patient. You also don't tighten that up all the way, but I am going to tighten it enough that it doesn't rattle. So I'll probably snug it and then loosen it back off just a little bit. Now that's too tight right there. Well, not really that much, just a little bit. You definitely don't want it to hold the linkage in any form. We'll do some trials. Close this latch. outside handle, close the latch. Something's not working right. Aha. Oh, this is rubbing on the window regulator. That's something to look out for. That's why I'm making this video. I'm doing this kind of thing to help people if they get stuck, what to look for. You see this little lever up here? It stays. So now I got to figure out what it's catching on. It might be the glass track, and it might be the hardware in there, but I don't think it's the hardware. No, there's a gap. It doesn't look like there is, but there is. If I just touch it, look how it goes. So let's figure out where that's binding. Alright, looks like it is the glass channel. See, I've got the levers back where the button pushes it to. And if I go in here, do that, it comes away. Bound up, not bound up. So, should be able to provide some clearance for it. Shouldn't take much. Alright, that works. Let's get a handle. We have a handle. Let's latch that. Okay, that's working. Next thing is going to be to replace this latch plate. I believe that the replacement one, the pin goes up and inside because that's where this latch is about. Could go like this, but that's going to be way too far out, I believe. Yeah, it's like almost right at the very end of the door. So we're going to mount it like this, and we'll see how that looks. First, I want to take this off. See how the door closes physically without a latch even there. Does the door go in correctly where it's about even? It's a rat rod truck, but for someone who's got a nicer truck and wants all the gaps nice and perfect, this latch will not correct the door. It doesn't close correctly if the door frame's out of kilter and the cab's out of shape. This latch is not going to fix that. That stuff has to be correct for the latch to be something that's worth upgrading to, you know. So let's get this old one off. Some 1/2-inch bolts. There are shims I don't believe I need with the replacement one. They go with the factory stuff. Now, there are plates behind this, and they float in like a box. So if your truck's in rough shape and those are bad, then you're probably going to need to repair those. You have to reach behind there. If you have a gas tank, that might make it a little bit of a bear. Something to keep in mind if you're going to do this kind of thing, and the truck's not in the best of shape, all that stuff's going to have to get worked on. So now I can space this out with those spacers if I need, or shims of any kind, really. You could even put washers behind it if you wanted, as long as it's mounted solidly. You know what? Let's close the door without this even on there and see how it does. You see, I got terrible gaps, and it's sticking out quite a ways. It's just the weather stripping is still so new. It hasn't quite broken in yet. I don't think that will be a factor. This does have up and down adjustment as well. I don't think that the weather stripping being a little dense right here is going to be too big of a factor. If I have to, I can hammer this. I intentionally don't have it glued very well, only about every 6-8 inches in case I had to tweak the rail that the weather stripping's on. I did a lot of work on this truck when I first got it. If you haven't seen those videos, there's 100 videos besides this one. And this truck was headed for the junkyard. No one wanted to put any more money into it. That's how it became a rat rod. And I decided I wanted to save it. I bought it not knowing just how bad it really was, and ended up replacing the entire wiper cowl, the entire roof, fabricating panels for inside the windshield headliner area because they don't make them for this year. 700 hours worth of repairs on the body and putting the engine in and wiring and stuff like that. But check those videos out if you haven't seen them yet. So that is on. That's really close to the edge. I got to be careful if it's fighting me. I don't want to latch it when it's definitely fighting something. It's got to go further out. Maybe I do have to shim it out. It definitely looks like it wants to be further out. What I'm looking for is the distance from here to the latch. So if this hits like it looks like it is, yeah, it just needs to go a little bit. I'm going to try these. They might be too thick and I can actually grind them down or file them down smaller. I put those flat bars behind it. See if that will work. I wonder if it's hitting that or something else. Looks like it's hitting that. It might be hitting right here. That would mean this needs to go up. I'm going to keep playing with this. Make sure it's that. I'm going to take it off. Okay. Now I am 100% positive it's something in this post. Hitting somewhere. Alright, I added 1 3/8 washer under here rather than adding to the space under that. I got to get clear of this metal bar right here, and that lines it up with the latch too. The mushroom head on there, it's got to be clear. Now you see this? That's because of the weather stripping. I got to give it a good... That is closed really good and lined up, although you'll see the door is not quite right. This has got to come up a hair. The door's got to go back a hair. The gap's about where I want it to be in the front, so to go back further it's going to make the front worse. But I think the latch will work a tiny bit better if I move it. You got to shut it pretty hard. Not too crazy about that. That's the first catch. I think that this is actually still right on the edge of catching with this piece. You see the marks where it's catching that, latching that good. So it's working, but it's not perfect yet. So I'm gonna have to, I could try another washer. I just don't want to put too many washers on there. You don't want this stud to get where it's flexing and all too. If the washers are big enough, it shouldn't really matter. So maybe I might try another washer and we'll see how that works, just to see if that's exactly what's going on. If this is rubbing somewhere and moving it helps, then I'll leave another washer in it. It's a 5/8 socket. 2 washers. These latches are very well made. This is only because my truck is pretty boogered up. You can see the threads poking out the back a little bit, so that should be good. Let's try that. It still requires quite a shut. Once I get this kind of thing working better, then we'll have to finish gluing that weather strip on a little bit better. Well, I think that that is going to be how it is for today. After tweaking, playing, adjusting, shimming, and moving this up and down, I brought this lower door hinge back a little bit, straightened the door out a tiny bit, but closed a lot better now. So that's how it's supposed to be. This gap, don't pay attention to that. If I really wanted to fix all that stuff, I could just cut on this and pull it forward and fix all my gaps, but you know, it's a rat rod. So that's how it's supposed to be. As long as it shuts good and stays closed, perfect. That's what I was hoping that latch would do. Now if I can just fix my regulator rattles when it's idling. That's for another video. It's about time for me to get home and cook some ribs for the kids. Everybody, my wife and kids want ribs today, so I only got so much time to work on this hunk of junk, this project truck today. So we're gonna do the other latch next. We learned a lot doing this one. Altman Easy Latch from Tucker Classic Auto Parts. They sell it a few different places, but Tucker seems to have about the best prices you can find. Check it out on their website. It's not a sponsored thing. I buy a lot of stuff from them because they have good prices, have good inventory, and they take good care of you if you do have a problem. So now you have an idea if you think about putting one of these latches in your truck, and that's the reason you're watching this video. And I'm going to take this truck to Old Town here eventually. That's my goal, to get this thing safe. I can take my family in it and not have to worry about doors opening up and stuff like that. So that thing is not coming open. So make sure before you head out, torque the like button for me if you got something from this video. If I helped you with your project, I really appreciate that. And maybe subscribe. Check out the Amazon store. All the standard YouTube stuff that I hate saying, but it's pretty important. A lot of people don't realize I have an Amazon store. So more than anything, I hope I see you in the next video, whether it's day in the shop, project truck, tools, any of that stuff, because you're awesome.